بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. المشكلة اللي دائما احنا بنعيدها وبنكررها وبنحكي عنها ونفصل فيها وبنشرحها قضية true false not given. Today we have a passage with the title The Polar Bear. Okay. We have 4 questions, true, false, not given. We will see how the question would the answer be true or false or not given, and how to differentiate between particularly false and not given. These 2 points are usually mixed up with each other. Okay, let's start. As we told before, we go directly to the questions. We don't go start reading the passage. No. If you start read the passage and you don't know what the questions are about, then this is just a waste of time. You should know what the questions are about. Then, so when you are reading, you would know what you are looking for. Okay, let's start with the questions. Look, question 1 to 4. Do the following statements agree with the views of the writer in the reading passage 4? Okay, write true if the statement agrees. Okay, if it agrees, I will write true. If it doesn't agree, I will write false. Not only not agreed, it contradicts. It's the opposite point of view. Or not given if it is impossible to say what the writer thinks about this. Okay, يعني الفولس معناها إذا المعلومة تتعارض، يعني ذكر لك عكس المعلومة في القطعة. not given إذا ما ذكر لك المعلومة أصلا. تمام؟ إن شاء الله تكون واضحة. طبعا بدك تنتبه على نقطة، في بعض الأسئلة ما بتكون true false not given، تكون yes no not given. تمام؟ وعادة الأسئلة yes no not given تكون تتكلم عن رأي الكاتب حول موضوع ما. تمام؟ the point of view of the writer of the passage. Okay, so don't mix up yes no not given with true false not given. Okay, it will marked as wrong answer if he asks you to write true false not given and you wrote yes or no or not given. Okay, if you wrote yes instead of true or no instead of false, you will mark it wrong. Your answer will be wrong. Okay, so let's start. Let's go directly to the questions. It's true, false, not given. Okay, I will mark the key point, the key word of each question. The polar bear lives in the The polar bear lives, okay, in the South Pole. القطب الجنوبي. There is no land in the South Pole. No land, South Pole. The polar bear can stand up on its back legs. يعني الكلمة اللي بدور عليها اللي هي الباك legs وستاند، يعني انه موقف او stand up. The polar bear cannot swim. هاي الأربع كلمات المفتاحية. طبعا في الامتحان ممكن يكون 7 نقاط true, false, not given, and maybe there are of course other questions. Maybe answer the question, fill the blank, and so on. Okay, let's go directly to the passage and look for these words. Your eyes should be focused on the first point. The questions will comes in the passage with this order. And the first question, this one should be the first one that we get its answer here. Okay? الأسئلة بتيجي بالترتيب، إجاباتها بالترتيب. يعني هذا السؤال لازم يكون أول سؤال يمر معنا جوابه في القطعة. Let's start. The polar bear is very big white bear. Okay, we call it the polar bear because it lives inside the Arctic Circle, near the North Pole. Okay. There are no polar bears at the South Pole. عندي South Pole وعندي polar bear، وأنا في السؤال الأول the first question you asked me about the South Pole and lives. There are no polar bear at the South Pole. ما في. The polar bear lives in the South Pole. Okay, the information is totally contradict. لا يوجد دببة قطبية في القطب الجنوبي. الدب القطبي يعيش في القطب الجنوبي. The information are totally contradict. So the answer would be false. The answer would be false. How the answer would be true? The answer would be true if he said there are without no, without the no. If he said, sorry, if he said sorry, it's a problem with that. Okay. Okay. If he said no, there is no, if we omit the word no, there are polar pairs at the South Pole, the answer would be true. How the answer would be not given for this question, there are no polar pairs at the South Pole. If he didn't tell, if he said just like this, the polar bear lives in the South Pole. If he said the polar bear, the polar, or there are polar bears live in the North Pole. Okay. If he said this, there are polar bears live in the North Pole. Okay. This information does not give me any kind of knowledge about the bears of the South Pole. I don't know. Yeah, the polar bears, there are polar bears live in the North-South. What about the South Pole? I don't know. Maybe there are, maybe there are not. So if the sentence was like this, so the answer would be not given. Okay? I hope it's clear. Let's move to the next sentence. There is no land in South Pole. Let's continue here. One good advice is that you put a mark when you are reading, when you are at the exam, you just put a mark where you stop, okay? You put some kind of dash or something, so when you return to it, you don't have to look for, so where have you been? Okay, so you just start from where you stop. The polar bear lives in the snow and ice, okay. At the North Pole, there is only snow, ice on the North Pole. North Pole, there is only snow, ice, and water. There is not any land. Okay, here's the answer. There is not any land, but look at the trick. Okay, there is not any land. There is no land, okay? Until here, the two information are identical. But look where is they differ. In the here, he is talking about the North Pole. There is no land at the North Pole. What about the South Pole? He said here there is no land in the South Pole. Well, people cannot see. No. There is no any information about the South Pole. So the answer would be for. Next question is not given. How to tell if it's, how could it be false? If he said there is land in the South Pole, so the answer would be for this question false, because the information are contradict. There are no land in the South Pole, and he said there is a land in the South Pole. So the answer would be false because it contradicts. Okay, but here he said there is no land at the North Pole. What about the South Pole? I don't know. he didn't say anything about that. So the answer would be not, sorry, the answer would be not given. Okay, let's continue and move to point number 3. Point number 1, we said it's false. There are no polar bears. Okay. Point number 3. The polar bear can stand on his back legs. Let's see. People cannot see the polar bear in the snow very well because it's coat yellow, white. It has a very long coat. Because okay, no information. The bear is 3 meters long and it weighs. Okay, it can stand up. Here's the word. Okay, on its back legs. It can stand up on its back legs. The polar bear can stand up on its back legs. It's identical. The information in the passage and in the question are the same. So the answer would be true. Okay. How could the answer would be false if he said the polar bear cannot, okay, stand up on its back legs. If he said that, the information, okay, contradicts in the information the question contradicts with the information in the passage. Well, so this would be false. Here it does not contradict, it's identical. Okay, the polar can stand, it can stand up on its back legs. So the answer would be true, and I don't know where the previous answers, why they disappear. Okay, let's move to the 4th question. The polar bear cannot swim. Cannot, oh my god, the answer disappeared. The polar bear cannot swim. Okay, let's see, because it has a very, okay, it can use its front legs like arms. Okay, the polar bear can swim very well. So the information contradicts. Here he said cannot swim. Here he said can swim. So the answer would be false because it totally contradicts. It totally contradicts. Okay. How could this answer be not given? The polar bear cannot swim if he didn't see anything about swimming. Okay. If he said, let's see, the polar bear lives, let's see, the polar bear lives near water bodies. Okay, the polar bear lives near water bodies. Does this mean that it can swim? I don't know. Maybe he lives near water bodies, but maybe he cannot swim, or maybe he can swim, but I don't know. So this one will be not given. Okay. My advice is when you just finish answering the question of the passage, leave the rest of the passage. You don't have to read it. It's a test, and the time is what matters. Okay, so just leave what is still not read and jump to the next question, or sorry, to the next passage. Okay, I hope this video is helpful for you all. Thank you.